Welcome to this episode of This Is My Offer. I am Manish Govil, and I am the Global Segment Lead for Supply Chain at AWS. Today, we're going to talk about supply chains. Supply chains are at the heart of global commerce and essential to delivering goods that we need in our day to day lives. Modern supply chains are global networks of manufacturers, suppliers, logistics providers, retailers working together to deliver products to end customers. As modern supply chains continue to expand, they're also becoming more complex. Who better to understand the dynamics of supply chain than my guest today, Suketu Gandhi? Suketu is the global co-lead for strategic operations and supply chain group at management consulting firm Kearney. Suketu is a recognized industry leader and subject matter expert on a wide range of supply chain, manufacturing, and operation topics with an emphasis on end-to-end supply chains. Suketu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Manish. Excited to talk about this topic, especially on a windy and cold day here in Chicago, where everything is disrupted from rail to trains to airlines. And now we'll see how supply chains can react to things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Suketu, you travel the world talking to a lot of supply chain leaders. What is at the top of their mind these days?
Uh, there's two big things that are at the top of their minds. One is, supply chains that were built on the assumptions that things don't change too often and that have worked for the last 30 years will continue to work in the future. And that has proved to be incorrect. So that is one big area that's on the top of their mind. And then the second thing is there is a full recognition that the disruptions we have seen will continue. So when you put those two things together, they're looking at how do I rewire my network so it can support the political, capital, customer needs that we have. At the same time, build a better model, which is much more real time, much more driven by data and AI, and where human intelligence and artificial intelligence can come together. So that's a view of supply chains that is coming through multitudes of discussions that I've had over the last couple of years.
Great, very interesting. So, in all of this, I know customer is the heart of supply chains, right? How is the buying behavior changing, and what are the implications of that for supply chain companies?
Absolutely. And the consumer, as you and me individually, and customers as large business to business deals have changed dramatically in two or three really significant ways. One is the speed at which they make decisions. The second is how quickly they get information around all products and how quickly they need to react to the market. And then the third is the connectivity between consumers and customers that speeds up trends at a quite rapid pace. So technology has fundamentally changed. If I would say there was one thing that has changed, it's speed. The speed at which ideas are propagated, used, and consumed in the market, which has dramatic implications on supply chains and how all companies, large and small, across all industries, from raw chemicals to finished goods, have to change the way they operate.
So, when changes are happening at this speed, right, it's very important to sense those very quickly, including demand. So, when we talk about demand sensing, what is demand sensing and how is technology, including Gen AI and more broadly artificial intelligence, enabling better demand sensing?
And demand sensing has gone through kind of what I would say three big periods. In the, let's say about 15, 20 years ago, it used to be supply constrained, massively supply constrained. And what would happen is if you produce something, then all you have to do is find a way to sell it. The second period that came through where there was a good balance between supply and demand coming through. And, if the customer ordered for something, you had a high degree of confidence that that's what they wanted, that's what they'll continue to want. So an order became a proxy for what the demand was. What has happened now, because of the speed we talked about and the connectivity between consumers and customers, That has changed. uh, Demand now is, it needs truly to be understood on the basis of what a consumer or a customer is gonna use the product or service for. So you go, okay, how do I sense what you need, and how are you expressing that needs? So demand sensing now really looks at what is the latent and the expressed demand coming from consumers and customers, whether it's an order or it is expressed in different terms. So let's say, for example, brilliant change in weather today. That means what will get affected? Well, what might get affected is cold medication on the one side, and on the other side, demand for services for heating and cooling, for example. And how should a company react to that? Now, so understanding demand at a very real-time level as well as on a long-term pattern level is possible now because of the different ways in which consumers and customers are expressing their needs in by electronic mechanisms.
Okay. What is this new demand and market sensing platform that Kearney has rolled out in collaboration with AWS?
On the one side, I would call it a very simple platform. What we're doing is, but on the other side, it's a highly complicated platform. The simplicity of the idea is this: let's see what consumers and customers are talking about, researching, understanding, buying, and thinking about substitutions. And let's get that information all the way through our supply chain. And that's a powerful way. Now, what that also does is it requires you to understand, out of all the variables that are out there, which are the ones that matter. And you have to do this at scale. So let's say you own, in a retail world, 15,000 stores. Within 15,000 stores, you're serving hundreds of millions of customers. Each of them is expressing their needs differently. So the exponential scale at which you need to process it and understand the data and recognize the difference between the elements and indicators that matter, the indicators that don't matter, requires a massive compute power, massive amount of storage, and a lot of intelligent algorithms. And that's where AWS has provided an amazing benefit. So we took a simple idea, recognized its complexity, and now are able to execute at a near real-time basis to predict demand. The last piece that has been very powerful in our collaboration with AWS has been around the concept of backcasting that says, let's look at the variables, understand the weightage that comes. Let's go back 2 to 3 years to see. And a lot of times we've been taking COVID off the table to understand if the way we are predicting is correct and accurate looking backwards. And then we start to forecast. And one of the most powerful impacts has been that we can predict now in focused categories 80% to 90%, about 16 to 20 weeks out. And that is amazingly powerful of what the demand looks like. So that is the joint collaboration. A simple idea, high complexity in execution, tremendous scale needed, and Kearney and AWS came together to deliver this.
That sounds exciting. So, what are the business benefits that customers get from the solution?
The benefits are multitude. The first thing it does is really connects our supply chains to genuine demand versus perceived demand. That's the first thing. So what does that mean? It means we are locating our products at the places in geographies where the customer wants it. Second, we are producing SKUs, and I'm using the word SKUs very carefully. So it's not a generic product category, SKUs, which are in demand and understand how the demands are changing. The third is we are able to synchronize our supply chain and alert our suppliers of when will the demand come through. So we meet the growth targets. We are much more efficient in inventory, which reduces our capital needs. And we are reducing the classic supply chain bullwhip and making it a lot more stable. It is not fully stable, never will be, but it increases the peaks, it decreases the peaks and valleys by a significant amount. So those are the big benefits: growth, margin, and capital.
Great. Any customer examples that you can think of who have basically benefited from this?
Yeah, so we have may scale this model across many industries, from industrial products, consumer products, retail, telecom. So it's a quite wide range, semiconductors, a wide range of industries. I'll take an example of a industrial products manufacturer that really wanted to understand uh, across 50,000 SKUs, what does the demand look like? And what was happening was, and this was especially as demand had high degree of fluctuations. For example, 10% of the products really brought in 90% of the margin and demand, but the other 90% was eating up the capital needed in inventory. So balancing that out was really important. For a long time, the company had what I would call gut around, hey, when does demand go up? Well, it's linked with uh, home starts. It is linked with increase in per capita income. It's linked with other factors that feel a lot more natural to human beings. But when we started looking at a large number of data elements and indicators, it turned out to be something else. And it turned out that there are close to 50 variables that really matter with different weightage factors. And we ran them through and came up with a model that said, this is what it looks like. And when we back tested it, it came to about 93, 94% accuracy. And we ran it in the future, and what we're seeing is consistently 85% plus 16 weeks out. So it changes how we make decisions as human beings, because now what we're doing on products and categories where the back testing has a high degree of confidence, to use that to drive our future growth and our supply chain. And where we have a lower degree of confidence, we increase the human involvement. So it is a great combination of human intelligence, HI, and artificial intelligence to find a powerful solution. And it's working. The most powerful thing is it's working in the marketplace.
Awesome. So, Suketu, how do customers get started?
The biggest thing is understand the outcomes that you want from a financial and a performance perspective, right? Whether it's inventory growth or less capital, and then jump into it because the data is available, and understand who are the people who are going to make the decisions around demand planning using technology, and then start to scale that up across product and geographies. It's a fairly simple way to get started once the mindset is there and an understanding is there that there is a robust set of ideas and technologies and proven examples to build this. So it's an exciting time to be in this space.
Suketu, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for joining us on this episode.
Thank you. Bye-bye.